record on this computer. Here we go. Hey, everybody. Welcome to this episode of the Disc Golf Answer Man. I am Bobby Cool Daddy Slick Breeze, and we have the entire Disc Golf Answer Man crew on board with us. Eric McCabe, Anthony Vanden Heuvel, and Danny Lindahl.
What's poppin'?
Now, these guys just came from outside. They were doing some Dynamic Discs Open course preview videos. The last couple of days have been very nice outside in the upper 60s. So they're taking advantage of the nice weather to get some course previews done for you guys. Make sure you are watching our YouTube channel so you catch those when those get produced and put out there. Also, on the Dynamic Discs mobile app, we'll have some links out there so you can watch it on the mobile app as well. Just go to dynamicdisc.com and look for that mobile app link and get that downloaded. So you guys played Jones Gold. Now that's one of the one that I'm super excited about because it's been a long time since the pros have actually played that course, right?
Yeah, and when they did play it, it was a different variation of what it is now. So
what year was that, Eric? Do you remember?
I want to say that would have been 2012.
2012
would be my guess. Well, yeah.
I was going to guess 2013, but you would know better than me.
I'm pretty sure it was before. I want to say 2012. I think it was 2012.
So what's super unique and really cool about Jones Gold is we have two courses here, Jones East and Jones West, very popular courses when people come to visit Emporia. And Jones Gold is basically kind of a safari mesh of these two courses. Some of the holes are the same, but some of them will be like, and I don't know off the top of my head, but example would be Jones West T-pad 3 throws to Jones East hole 5 basket or something like that. Just
wow,
to
that'd be a really cool hole.
Wouldn't that be a crazy hole?
Wow.
R10.
But it's kind of neat to be able to take the two courses that people are familiar with and then combine them and then see how the top pros will play that. So anyway, so super excited about that coverage coming out. Before we get to the questions, guys, I want to remind you that the disc golf match play is underway. And we actually have the doubles is starting out for this year. And so far we have 95 local qualifying brackets across 35 states and provinces. Disc golf is booming. So that's amazing. Make sure you go to disc golf match play and go into the brackets, go to local doubles, and you can see if your state is represented. Right now, the state that's in the lead for the most qualifying brackets is, anyone want to take a guess? Without looking at the notes?
Texas.
Kansas.
Danny?
North Carolina.
Colorado.
That's what I said.
Yeah.
I was closest.
That's what I heard.
I was
Colorado with 8 qualifying brackets, followed up by Alabama with 7 qualifying brackets. Do you know how many Louisiana has?
None.
0. Come on, Louisiana.
Oh, come on, Louisiana.
Someone's got to represent the state. So anyway, go to discgolfmatchplay.com to see if you can play in one or if you want to run one in your state and represent your state. You can
more like Loseriana until they get some more brackets.
Loseriana.
Loseriana.
Or lose Ontario or Maine loser.
That
flows.
That flows. Harsh, that's right off the tongue. So anyway, go check that out. Make sure you are representing your state. A lot of prizes to be given out, and you'll be able to make a trip out to Emporia, Kansas for the championship in June,
where you could face Danny and I. Bring it.
Oh,
that's right. Especially
you guys
like
playing?
Today. Yeah,
we sure are.
I'm trying to get one of them evaders.
Right?
Dang. EMAC judges is what you meant to say, but that's cool.
Yeah. EMAC judge Jaders.
Jaders.
What's that you're saying now? What's that you're saying now on the evader shots? Sneak peek?
Oh, sneak peek, yeah. EMAC was going to throw his evader, and I was like, oh, we're getting a sneak peek then. And then I realized there's multiple videos about the evader out there. And then every time he threw it after that, I was like, oh, still a sneak peek. Yeah, I like sneak peek.
Nice. All right. Also, I want to make sure that I recognize the farm at Quill Valley this past weekend. All of us were out there to take part in a Veterans for Vet event that happened out there. I believe the last count was 125 players came out there and played. And the snow was still out there, but it was melting. It was nice enough to have some sunshine, which helped it stay warm. But the amazing thing is that Tyson and his crew raised nearly $5,000 for the Kansas Veterans Home Association. Of course, they were ecstatic. I believe they said that's the largest donation they've gotten from an event. So Guys, it's as a veteran, this is something I'm super proud of that we do. Veterans for Vets. We basically take the winter time for you to be able to run events. You can run events in your area, keep the disc golf community active during the winter time, and use it as a platform to raise money for local veterans organization. This is the second year and has been growing and growing, and we're just super excited to continue to grow this throughout the winter time. I believe we're just about done with this season, so we'll wrap things up, but be ready next winter, and we'll let you guys know about it. But you can sign up, you can run events in your area and continue to make a positive impact for the veterans in your local area. You guys ready for the questions?
I was born ready.
Born ready. All right, guys, as always, go to discgolfanswerman.com and submit your disc golf questions. We'll try to get them in the air. And we actually have some speak pipe, the ones that we can do, because I was so smart and figured out how to do it last time.
Massive brain.
But we are going to start with Colt. This is cold weather affecting flight. Hey, guys, for your convenience, no typos in the question.
Wow.
Nice.
You don't even understand how wonderful that is for me.
If people want to know how to get your question answered immediately,
Right.
put that as your subject line and then follow through.
Yes, and then yeah,
True.
All right. So, does cold weather affect the distance of the discs? I live in Georgia, and although it's not as cold as some areas, it gets down to about 30 to 40 as opposed to 85 plus summers. It feels as though my drives don't go as far as the summertime. It also feels like I have to power up some days to reach routine holes. Is this due to the discs becoming more firm with colder weather? Or is it because my body isn't as warm and I can't utilize all of my throwing muscles? It doesn't seem to be a big difference, but it does seem noticeable. For reference, I throw mostly Star and Champion plastic in Innova molds.
That's the
Thanks,
problem.
lads. I was going to say
it's going to be
is
your first
problem.
issue.
Yeah. I should have just read that last sentence, and
Yeah.
that would have been
That,
good.
that was actually a huge typo error there. He
Really?
did not put DD. It wasn't West Side.
All right. So, how does cold weather affect the distance of the disc or the thrower of the disc?
So technically, because cold air falls and warm air rises, cold air is more dense than warm air. And so effectively throwing at elevation is like throwing in warm air. So discs will technically fly less overstable in cold air for the same reasons of the elevation difference and everything. But when you're playing in cold air, usually you're bundled up and you don't have as much grip and your discs are stiffer and things like that. So usually the thrower can't throw them as hard or as well in the colder temperatures. So the end result is most of the time the discs will act a little bit more overstable in my experience. What do you think, Emac?
I think it's the same. Yeah. For me, when I'm out in the cold, I also don't have a range of motion like I do when it's warmer, so, and not to mention the massive amounts of hoodies and everything else that I'm wearing. So I think that goes, definitely. I don't throw as far in the cold as I do in the warmer conditions, but I don't know the science behind it. I guess I'm not a physician or physics of flight. Like I don't have a PhD like Danny does.
Oh, I don't either. I just fool people.
Okay, perfect. Fantastic.
Well, when I go out, and I don't play in the cold, so I have no.
Yeah, that's a good point. So technically, to answer your question, because the air is more dense, discs won't fly as far in the cold, but they will fly less stable, which ually kind of makes up for it.
Would you say
throw
that's
them the same?
Statistically speaking, or
Yeah, statistically.
Technically, statistically speaking, it's because
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
We were talking today. The way to win any argument is just to go, statistically.
Statistics.
And maybe you're right. Statistically.
All right. Next one is from Texas David. This is on field work and practice routine. Hey, DeGam fam. Thanks for taking my question. I've heard AJ talking about intentionality to my practice. But what does that mean? I'm already practicing on purpose. Intentionality has become a buzzword where I work that has been boiled down to focus on what you're doing and do it on purpose. When it comes to a daily or weekly practice routine, assuming there is enough daylight to get a full practice regimen in, what do top level pros do to stay sharp and at the top of their game? Do you have a recommended practice routine for more intermediate level players? Are they different? You guys are killing it. Keep up the good work.
So, Eric, when you were touring, what was your practice routine like?
So when I was out on the road full time, like before tournaments, I would always at least try to get there at minimum 2 to 3 days before the first round, so I can get as many rounds on that course as I possibly can, and then go back when I'm done and just go play trouble holes, any holes that I'm like struggling with, or if it's a hole that I'm particularly not good at, like if it's a left to right finisher or something along those lines, that's definitely the hole I'll go spend some time on, just throwing multiple shots at it and trying to build my confidence on those holes, and skip the holes that I know I can just no brainer not even have to think about, and go score on those holes. So staying on top of the game as far as just being on the course playing is absolutely number one, obviously. But, if that's not the case, if you're not able to get to the tournament, or, for maybe the more intermediate level of tournament play, and you don't have the luxury of getting to a tournament days in advance, but you do have time to go at least play it or walk it. I talked about this on Anthony's podcast, that walking the course backwards is something that absolutely will help you. And it's a whole different vibe. It's a whole different scenery, almost, just looking backwards from the tee pad and knowing how far certain trees are. It's a different perspective, and it definitely will help you in the long run.
Mm-hmm. As far as practicing your game, rather than practicing a course, when I hear practicing with intentionality, I think of trying to focus on one thing. Like a lot of times people will go do field work. They'll throw all their discs to the other side of the field and then go pick them up and throw them all back, and not really change anything, not film yourself or not try to do something. When I go do field work and I'm trying to improve, trying to add some distance, I will throw a few shots to warm up, and then I will film myself, and I'll look at what I'm doing, and I'll try and change something and try to improve. And to me, that's what AJ's talking about when he talks about intentionality, like working on something rather than just going out and doing stuff. Kind of like the difference between going through your routine and when you're practicing putting, rather than just throwing all your putts.
Right.
Yeah, good stuff. All right, we're going to set us up real quick. We're going to get some speak pipe questions in real quick. Now, guys, this is your way to send us your voice, like a voicemail, basically. Send us your questions via the voicemail, and that can be found at the discgolfanswerman.com website. Here we go. First one comes from Ian.
Hello, everybody. First off, just wanted to say a big thank you to everybody there at Disc Golf Answer Man for all the awesome content you guys put out, all the awesome information, and just what you guys do for the disc golf community in general. My question today has to do with age and distance. My name's Ian. I'm 41 years old. I've been playing casually for about 2 years, and I live in Nebraska. So I understand about playing in the wind. The struggle is real. So my question about age and distance is, have you noticed through your guys' tenure of playing disc golf that individuals that start playing disc golf later in life, like myself, have you seen them struggle with getting distance or gaining distance? Because it seems like everywhere I read, everybody's bombing stuff out to 400, 500 feet. Everywhere I read, it says, oh, you should be able to rip a disc out, a mid-range out to 300 feet, no problem. And I go out, I do field work, and I can't get it out to 300 feet. Maybe it's just my form. Maybe I'm just not that good. I mean, I'm not in the worst shape. So I guess that's my question. Have you guys noticed that people that are older or start later in life, that they struggle with that? Or as they get older, they struggle with that? And if so, what would be your advice for someone that is older, that started later, to work on that? Thanks again, guys. Have a good one.
Eric, as you've aged like a fine wine,
Solid.
have you noticed that distance is a thing that kind of has changed?
Well, yeah, but I honestly don't think that this is a question towards me, because obviously I don't throw as far as I did when I was 20. You know, that's everybody's. By the time that they've been in the sport for 20 years, at some point they're going to start to lose a little bit of distance. But yeah, I think starting in the sport at an older age, it's going to be more and more challenging for you to gain more distance, I would say. Now, there is ways to get off that plateau, so to speak. And I think a lot of it is getting out and trying new discs is really a big key, in my opinion. Is whatever you're throwing right now for your maximum distance, see if there's anything else out there, because there is just ridiculous amounts of options out there for distance drivers, and just because it's a distance driver doesn't necessarily mean it's going to go the furthest for you also. So always looking back at maybe some slower speeds and getting your form down a little bit of more of a routine could absolutely help you gain more distance in the long run, learning your form first and then working up to those higher speed discs. A disc that comes to mind is the Sapphire from Latitude 64.
Yes.
That disc is phenomenal.
It bombs too.
Denise picked it up and just started throwing it this year, and she is throwing further than I've ever seen her throw. And they're lightweight. Now, for the Trilogy Challenge, I think, or sometime soon, we're going to be getting some heavy ones in, I believe. So
Ooh.
I'm excited to see how those bad boys fly. But
Yeah.
pick up a Sapphire maybe and try that for distance and just slow everything down. We were kind of discussing this earlier today when we were throwing, and you're out playing in like fierce wind conditions, like just nasty windy days. Throwing at 100% power is absolutely what you do not want to do. You'll lose power. You'll flip everything over. You're going to get angry. You're going to get tired because you're putting so much force into it. It's just not what you want to do. For me, there's nothing better than throwing into a headwind at like 75% power with something pretty overstable on a hyzer and letting the disc do the work. And you'll sneakily get some more distance out of it for sure.
So it sounds like age isn't really, I don't want to say an excuse.
Age ain't nothing but a number, baby.
Yeah. So, but Danny, you're you like to study people's form, and I'm sure of all ages as far as pros, and you've helped people, amateurs and intermediate level players, they send you their form. Would you say that age seems to be a factor? Or is it more just learning how to be better at your throwing form?
I think physically there's nothing that really stops you from throwing far. I mean, Emac's a great example because I don't know. I know you're play master, so you're over 40. I don't know how old you are though, but and you threw 500 feet like today. So there's nothing physically stopping someone who's older from throwing farther. A lot of people like to say that flexibility helps add distance, and it definitely might help add like not getting sore as quick or longevity of throwing. I am not a flexible person. I cannot even come close to touching my toes. It's laughable. So I don't know that flexibility has that much to do with it as far as just doing the form correctly. One thing I have noticed with older people, especially, I'd say older people. I don't mean older people. I mean people who pick up the game later than most.
Rude.
How's that? Is they tend to think that they have to muscle more than the people who pick it up earlier, because kids tend to get the idea of, oh, you just kind of fling it and it goes. Whereas the more sports that you've played and the more things that you've done where the throwing motion is more tied directly to muscles, the harder of a habit that is to break, to get into more of the flinging motion rather than the muscling motion. One thing to look for though is your shoulder. A lot of people who are muscling, they'll have their shoulder up here, and that pulls your shoulder back, it lifts it up, and it almost always means that you're trying to throw with all your arm. What you actually should do is push your shoulder out almost, because you're trying to get your elbow out in front of you, not this way, like in front of you, straight away from you. That's one thing to look for. You can tell if you're muscling if your shoulder is up by your ear.
All right, next one comes from Tristan, and this is on late turn Anhyzers. How do they do that? My arm is slow, but with pretty unstable discs, I can get decent turnover backhand shots, but they begin turning relatively quick out of the hand, but there's no obvious off-axis torque. I see many backhand dominant players be able to also do late flip turnovers, but I rely on my forehand for a late left to right. But I'm wondering also, how do you utilize the late flip turnover shots? Thank you, gents. Stay groovy and tell someone you love them.
Oh,
Anthony, I don't love you, but I thought you'd answer the question.
So is he asking like what you would use that for, or how to throw it?
sounds like why or
how to utilize the late flip turnover shots?
I mean,
like when to throw that shot as opposed to like a forehand or something like that.
Sure.
Yeah.
To me, it's, at least from my personal game, it's a different shape than like a sidearm hyzer. For me, a sidearm hyzer is constantly moving to the right. it'll kind of have a slow, gentle curve to the right. Where, like for a Maverick, if I throw it on a hyzer, it'll flip up and almost fade to the right. It's a much straighter shot that sort of gently finishes to the right, where a sidearm hyzer is aggressively moving to the right the whole time. So if it's a tunnel shot that I need to finish to the right, or if I need more distance, then I'm going to be throwing that late flip hyzer flip. But if it's shorter, or if I need it to just get right, then that's when I would throw the sidearm.
I think a big part of getting the late flip, if you're struggling with throwing that shot, is throw a more understable disc on more hyzer, because discs really only move left and right as they're falling. So if it's on a hyzer angle out of your hand, unless you're like trying to scoop it early and like a lot of hyzer, for the most part, it'll fly straight as it's turning and then just finish to the right. And getting nose down is really important there. Because if the disc starts out nose up, there's no way that it's going to keep turning the whole time. You really got to make sure you get your nose down so that it can keep turning the whole time. And then actually it just hits the ground before it fades. If it had if it was like into the Grand Canyon or something, it would eventually fade back.
Nice.
But the trick to that shot is to just grab a little bit more disc than you need and hit the ground before you fade.
Next one comes from Michael, and this is on throwing putters. I can throw a straight flying base plastic putter just over 200 feet with decent accuracy. I feel like there is more distance to be had. When I ask more experienced players if I should strive for more distance from throwing a putter and have a goal of throwing 300 feet consistently, normally they say anything over 220, reach for a driver. What do you guys think? Should I work more on my game with my putters and use those for anything under 300? Or should I start working with my mid ranges?
Mids.
Why is that,
I'm a
Eric?
mid guy. I'm a mid guy. I love throwing my mids, and I think it's because a couple things come to mind actually on this question. One of them is like this past weekend playing in awful conditions is disking up to that mid as opposed to having to throw the putter harder, or put more effort into that shot where I can throw a mid range and just throw it at 65% and get similar results. For me, I hate going out and playing rounds of golf where I'm just constantly throwing as hard as I can, and if you're doing that off the tee, well, first, you don't want to do that ever, is throw as hard as you can. But, even 85% power all day long will definitely wear you out. And if I have a shot to where I can throw either, like, let's call it a 300-foot hole, right? If it's a 300-foot hole and I have a choice between a putter and a mid-range, I'm probably reaching for the mid-range 90% of the time, just because it's less effort on my part throwing that shot. And at the end of the day, it's honestly whatever you feel better about or whatever you're most consistent at doing. Because look at a player like James Conrad. I don't even know if he carries mid-ranges because he just throws the putter so well.
Mhm.
And obviously there's other variables that come into it, like wind and whatnot. But
Height.
if you're consistently throwing 280 feet with a putter, that's fantastic. And I would say anything north of that, I personally would recommend grabbing a mid range and working on that part of the game from, like, I don't know. I throw an EMAC Truth from anywhere from probably 280 feet to probably close to 380, almost 400 feet on those type of holes. I'll throw that EMAC Truth. And it's just because it's familiar to me. It's consistent, it's accurate, and it's what I do best. So I'm obviously going to lean on that a little bit more.
Mm-hmm.
Gotcha. All right, let's jump over to our speak pipe and hear from Matt.
Hey there, DG Answerman team. My name is Matt, here from Boulder, Colorado. Longtime listener, first time caller. My question is about putting, and specifically about that first shot and making it count. My practice rounds in the backyard, in the practice basket, and out on the course, I'm finding that, that first time setting up to the lay, taking that first shot, I'm generally missing the basket, maybe hitting low, maybe hitting high, what have you. But then I can run the next 12 straight, but just can't seem to connect on that first shot. What tips or tricks would you have, or maybe a practice routine that could help develop, new lie's first shot technique? Thanks, and hope to hear you soon.
Who here has like a specific practice routine? Is there a practice routine, or usually just go out and play a game of putting, or what?
I just go out, throw a few putts, and then I make sure to go through my routine while I'm putting for as much time as I have.
Yeah.
And I think this comes to mind for some of the videos that I've been doing here lately, is going out and playing casual rounds or event rounds, whatever it is the second one always goes in regardless. And now if I can figure out how to throw that second one first, I'm going to start dominating. But you know why that second one goes in? I can absolutely tell you. It's because you don't care. It doesn't matter. You've already missed the putt. So if you make that second one, it doesn't matter. That's how you get that first one to go in, is have that mindset of confidence and no worries about how far past or what if I miss. As soon as you start thinking in your head, what if I miss? Guess what? You're probably going to miss.
I think mentally visualizing making the putt helps too. I don't know if you do this as part of your routine, but to a certain extent,
right in the eyes and then jam.
Yeah, he actually did that. To your brain, I heard this somewhere. I don't know how accurate it is. It's not a huge difference between actually throwing a putt and imagining yourself throwing a putt. And so sometimes if you just imagine yourself throwing the putt and the putter going in the basket and everything like that, that can help be that first putt. Don't imagine missing it though. That's not helpful.
No, as soon as you start bringing missing or that mindset, you need to just back off, redo whatever you do, restart your routine. And as soon as you start hearing the word miss or start those negative thoughts start rolling in, man, you just got to stop. You got to get
That's happened. I was at a tournament. I was like lining up my putt. I'm like, all right, I'm going to throw it right here. It's going to bank and then it's going to hit the cage and it's going to roll. Wait a minute. Never mind. Back off. Okay, here we go. Try again. All right, I'm going to throw it a little bit higher then, and then it'll go right in.
Nice. All right, Anthony, what do we have for our squad member shout out this week?
This week we've got Zach. I believe his last name is Aguirre, maybe, or Aguirre, maybe. I'm not quite sure how to pronounce it. My apologies, Zach. But recently we had a challenge sent out for people to go around their course. I mean, we all see it, right? There's always garbage on the course. Whether you have a garbage can on every tee pad or not, somebody somewhere is going to leave trash out on the course. And so I encouraged people to clean that up and get some reward points for doing so. And Zach had an entire garbage bag of trash that he had picked up from his course. So big shout outs to you, Zach, and everyone else out there that is helping clean up their course. If you're unfamiliar with the squad, head to squad.dynamicdiscs.com. It's kind of like a super fan club where you can get a little bit more out of your Dynamic Discs experience. You can complete challenges like going around your course and cleaning up trash. You get some reward points, you get discounts on things, you get free stuff. Super cool. Just like I said, squad.dynamicdiscs.com.
That's cool.
Next time you do a challenge on being bald, let me know so I can.
Yeah.
Or bringing us tacos. That would be a fantastic challenge.
Oh, yeah.
I will absolutely. That's going to be one.
Bring
Challenge
us
for Dynamic Discs Open. Bring the Answer Man crew tacos.
We're going to have so many tacos. This is a fantastic idea.
Like it's a bad thing. I'm excited.
All right. Next question comes from Tobias. This is on the EMAC Truth Ice Ghost Stamp.
Ooh.
I recently bought an EMAC Truth in ice clear plastic with the ghost stamp. Was that from Toonie?
No, the Toonie one was the Finnish EMAC stamp. These were from GBO. Would have been the last year we had GBO.
Oh, okay.
Is there still one right behind you, Bobby?
There used to be one right behind you on the wall.
Yeah.
It's behind you. Watch out.
Disc?
It's so clear he didn't even notice.
Mm-hmm.
No, it's gone. And that's my disc. Eric gave that to me.
I did.
It's probably Robert took it.
Probably a
out.
former
Probably.
host who should not be named. Yeah.
I wonder if I took it down and put it in my office.
Need for my clear bag. You have an all clear bag?
Oh.
How do you find any of those discs? Okay. Anyway.
Is it Wonder Woman?
No.
I am not envious of people that have to play with that guy.
Jeez. What color was it?
Wherever it landed.
It wasn't a color. How many? Okay, so back to his question. How many of these discs were made, and what would one in mint condition be worth? Don't worry, I'm not going to sell. I'm not going to sell it even for $1,000. Oh, so yeah, what would you say it's worth?
I was going to offer $999 for it. But, how many were made? Let's see. I believe that run I did. I want to say 500. I believe was the number on those. And how much are they worth? That's it's a seller's market. It depends on who's buying. If it's mint, I've seen them go anywhere from, $50 to $250. It just kind of depends on when you're selling it,
There's Facebook pages that'll like appraise discs or give you a rough guess at what they're worth.
Yep. Or take offer. You can say take offers on it, whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah, those were beautiful. And if you guys liked those, just wait till this year's Dynamic Discs open. And
I'm waiting.
Here we go.
yeah, you're gonna have to wait though.
Nice. Next one comes from Ben, and this is on Dynamic Discs. Speaking of DDO, must-sees and must-dos. Thanks for all the great content and insight y'all have continued to put out. My buddy and I have registered for the DDO's MA3, and it'll be our first time at DDO. Well, statistically speaking, it'll be...
Statistically speaking, you're
Well
gonna
played, Bobby.
it'll be the first DDO for everyone.
Yeah.
Since we
Okay,
just changed the name.
statistically, that's not true.
This is true. That's true. Good point. Good point. We did have the Dynamic Discs open a few months ago.
I don't mean to brag, but this ain't my first EDO.
This will be the first MA3 DD that any
Oh,
MA3 has.
No, there's the one that was in October.
remember we used to have the Dynamic Discs
Gosh,
for the
that's
one-day
right.
event.
This will be
Nice.
the first DDO at the end of April that everyone can play in.
There you go.
There you go.
There's the statistics we were looking for.
I know. There it
Yeah.
is.
Yeah, there's that technicality that
Yeah. All right. So it'll be their first time and playing in Kansas Win. Any best practices you can share for the first timers? Bring your overstable discs.
Does
Are
it
you
say where they're
playing?
coming from?
He says he's from Spanish Fort, Alabama.
Alabama. You play in the trees down there. Grab like an enforcer at least. Like
Yeah,
3
very
overstable discs.
yeah.
I would bring more than that, especially if you're going to be playing
Oh
anywhere
yeah.
that has water, because a lot of our courses around here do have ponds. Not that you won't get your disc back eventually, but
Yeah.
we'll be
You're gonna
late.
want it the rest of that round.
Some of the water in there, you might not want your disc back.
That's true.
Yeah.
That's true.
The first year I played GBO, the most overstable disc I had was an overstable disc in the woods. It was a Moonshine Trespass, and it was not overstable in Kansas Wind. So bring overstable discs.
Yeah.
But as
He
far
also
as what
wants
to
to-
do, Bobby, you've got a pretty good answer for him, don't you?
Everything.
Everything. Yep.
You're gonna want to be here for
no.
a while.
So he
Are
also
you not-
continues to say, outside of tourney play and scheduled events, what should we check out while in Emporia? Well, Ben, I have the answer for you. I think that's what you were segueing.
Yes, that's.
I'm actually I'm actually
There it is.
working on a new podcast series called The Road to DDO. It's going to be about 4 or 5 part series where I basically do that. We talk about first timers coming to Emporia, Kansas, things that you need to make sure you're doing, the course information, what family and friends can do if they're going to tag along while you're playing in the actual event. So make sure you're subscribed so you catch all that. I'm going to record. I have interviews recorded. Now I got to record my parts. I'll probably do that this week and we'll have that out in the next couple of weeks. So make sure you look forward to that. All right, let's jump over back to Speak Pipe and get a few of those knocked out. Let's come back. I can't tell if this is the same Matt or a new Matt, but it is Matt nonetheless.
Matt.
I'm the Matt.
Hey there, Disc Golf Answer Man. My name is Matt from Boulder, Colorado, and I have a question that is in regards to more so the production and coverage of our favorite sport than playing, specifically in the drone flights that you see in the pre-hole coverage. You know, a drone will fly the line and give you context to where these players are going to be throwing. But I've noticed that, and not all outfits are doing this, but really low quality drone flights that are going through the course. And, you know, they're either very jittery from the pilots flying themselves, or frame rate issues where they have obviously sped it up 8x and it's very stuttery, and it makes my head hurt when I see these things. What can we do to get our boys that are out on the course flying the proper training to make this look smooth and give us professional looking coverage, as well as how do I get out on the course and do these flights? I'm a Part 107 pilot and think I could produce much higher quality content. What would be my first step in the door to get on the course and fly for different coverage outfits? Thanks.
We're doing our best, man.
I was before he said who he was, I almost said, I've been watching too much TikTok. I almost said, tell us you're a drone pilot without telling us you're a drone pilot.
It's hard.
No, that's the thing. Matt, welcome to Disc Golf and Disc Golf Media. Because of social media, we appear bigger than what we really are. We are really in the still the growing phase as far as it comes to disc golf media. Now we're growing by leaps and bounds, but the thing is, a lot of these outfits are just guys that are like, drone footage would be awesome. I'm going to go buy me a nice little Mavic drone for $500 to $1,000, and they go out and make drone footage, and then they don't, and then they realize it takes a lot more skill than just grabbing a remote and doing. Now, these drones can do really amazing things. I know because I do it. I do really good stuff, but even the stuff I do is very amateurish looking compared to professionals. So, all these outfits don't have these $10,000, $15,000 drones. And they're not people that do drone footage all the time. They're guys that have a few cameras and they get out there and they do great tournament covers, and they like want to up the production value and they add that drone footage. So I would say if you're not the one to do it, you just be patient. As we continue to grow, so will disc golf media will continue to mature. I would imagine this year, 2021, is going to be one of those years that me and Anthony and Danny and even Erica, who's done disc golf media stuff, is going to see a lot of improvement, because it seems like this year there's a lot more organization and a lot more structure to the disc golf production that's going to happen. As far as you getting in there and doing it, contact a local disc golf club, a local disc golf course, to see if they want some drone footage and get out there and do it. If people start seeing your work, you might have one of these big companies like Jomez or Central Coast reach out and say, hey, we'd love to have you do our drone footage.
You know what I want to see? I want to see the guys who do like racing drones do a flyover. You ever seen those?
Central Coast had a guy do that one time.
Yeah.
For, I forget what year, but it was like a Beaver State. It was something at Milo. I think it was Beaver State Fling one year.
Sick.
Yeah. And he sent them a reel. Like, he went out there and did it, and he would go to the basket and he would zoom around the basket, and then he would do backflips and stuff. It was the coolest thing I've ever seen. It was awesome.
Well, the guy that did if you guys have seen our Helping You Become a Better Disc Golfer ad on Facebook, where it has that drone footage at the end where you can actually see the disc slow down. I don't know that guy does it professionally, but it's like a step above a hobby, because he's done stuff for drag racing and other stuff. And he showed me his highlight reel, where of course you guys seen it, the highlight reel, where he's chasing down those cars. And so he does a really good job.
But I mean, just go film your local courses and put them out on YouTube. And then if somebody Googles drone flyover for that course, they might be able to reach out to you and get that footage or something.
All right. Next one is from David. Tournament directing for beginners. Sup. He says, sup. I live in Minneapolis, and the disc tournaments around here are filling up within minutes of registration being open. Seriously, ask Kale. I haven't talked to Kale LaVisca. You have talked to Kale LaVisca?
I talk to him quite often.
I haven't talked to him forever. He's always a cool dude.
Yeah.
Anyway, this is happening 5 to 8 months before the tourney. The demand is huge, and this area needs TDs. What would the first couple of steps be for someone interested in trying? P.S. Sorry if you have answered this before. This is my first and only submission. Only? That's it?
You're done?
You're not going to give any more?
One
David,
question.
this is something that I have noticed on social media. People talking about how tournaments are filling up really fast, and we need more TDs. But I believe there's I actually asked our TDs that are on Dynamic Discs or work for Dynamic Discs if they've felt this, and they said yes. They're trying to figure out how to accommodate for this influx of new players and people just wanting to play the tournaments. And correct me if I'm wrong, but I think there is some restriction in the distance between events. That's kind of also kind of a what's the word I'm looking for? A bottleneck that's happening as far as running more events, and they're trying to get the PDJ to change some of that. But if you're looking to begin to run events as a TD, I would try to get a hold of like a local disc golf organization or club and see what they have going on, so you can kind of get connected into whether they've already have plans to run more events, or if they can even accommodate running more events, or if they say yes, you do it.
Go ahead, finish.
Oh, I say, and then if they say, yeah, we'd love you to run more events, then you already have a connection with players that are out there. I know that coming up, one thing that I know it's really, I've had a lot of people say that was their first tournament and they learned a lot, was running a trilogy challenge, because it's basically like a tournament in a box where we give you the players pack items, we give you the prizes, we help you promote it. and we kind of walk you through the steps of running it and how to different ways, different formats of running it. So you might look for that in trilogychallenge.com and kind of get some stuff running. And it's not sanctioned, and it can't be sanctioned, right? Yeah, it can't be sanctioned because you only have to throw those discs, but it's a way for you to learn and get your feet wet as far as running tournaments.
Or helping out a local TD is good.
You
Yeah.
spoke on it earlier too with match play. That's another tournament in a box that we do that are live right now that you could go and host. Bobby kind of touched on it earlier when you make sure that you do reach out to the local club or the local TDs and make sure that you're not going to be stepping on toes either. Because that's the last thing people want is someone new to come into town and just start running events out of nowhere. Just make sure that you reach out and do it the right way. And I honestly don't know if more TDs / tournaments is the answer to help with all the tournaments that are filling up. But what I do know we need is more courses in the ground too. That would absolutely help out with some of the tournaments that are limited to like 90 players. If you have another course close by that you could utilize, it doubles your entry fees. So there's something else to think about there as well.
Absolutely. Nice growing pains to have for the sport for sure.
Oh,
all right, this one's from Vincent. This is on wind direction. This is on wind direction while you're hunting rabbits.
Dedicated wham.
Hey, Elmer Fudd.
This is a two-part question here. Number one, what? Okay, this guy loses points. That other guy said he had no typos. This guy says, "What do is the best practice?"
That makes sense.
Yes,
What do?
It is.
What it do?
What is the best practice when teeing off and there's wind that literally swirling around you? There's no absolute way the wind is blowing. What?
Like it's swirling. It's hard to
It's
tell
not a
what
headwind,
direction.
It's swirling. So what do you do, Anthony, when you walk up to the tee and the wind is just all over the place?
Well, depending on the length of the hole, I'm either going to throw my Justice, my Felon, or my Enforcer.
Why?
Because I can trust those. I don't care which direction the wind is blowing. Those are doing the exact same thing every time. If it's a short hole, I'm going to throw Justice. If it's a longer hole, maybe the Felon or the Enforcer, depending on the length. But I can trust those in any wind condition. So it's not that it doesn't matter. It's not that it's irrelevant, but I almost don't care when I'm throwing those discs.
But why did you choose those three for those particular shots?
Just because they're so overstable.
Yeah.
They can fight any wind. It doesn't matter if it's a headwind, tailwind, left, right, left. They do the same thing.
Also, keep it low.
Yeah.
Lots of times, the closer you are to the ground, there's less wind. So if you just keep it low, overstable, you're set.
Maybe that's why I was such a good wind player in my day, because I wasn't very tall.
That is an unfair advantage that short people have.
But to you, Eric, you tend to have a little bit of a slight hyzer when you throw anyway. But do you when it's super windy, do you do anything to the angle of your release at all, or you do just
try not to? But if anything, I will put a touch more hyzer on the release. But kind of like I spoke of earlier, is throwing more stable discs at less speed too if it's a headwind. So like 75% power into a headwind is my ideal shot.
Gotcha. Part two of his question. Also, what do you do when there's a lot of wind and having to putt with a disc that has a lot of glide?
I have a blend Justice that I will putt with if the wind is crazy. Like if it's blasting, I'm not going to trust my Warden. I'll just get the Justice out and jam it in.
Yep.
I've heard people putting with the Suspect because in fact it is technically a putt and approach disc.
Harp, I've heard that as well.
Harp as well, yeah.
Or if you flip your putter upside down, I know some people do that.
Just slide it, yeah.
If it's super windy, then there's not a whole lot of putting going on that day anyway. And if it's one of those just like 30 to 40 mile an hour wind gusts days, if I'm outside the circle, let's be honest. If I'm outside, say 20 feet, I'm probably just throwing it at the pole and just having a tap in and not even being concerned, because the chances of making that putt, I mean, sure, if you have a great putting day, but a 40-footer into a 30 mile an hour headwind is I mean, you might as well lay it up. Otherwise, you're going to have a 25 to 30 foot tailwind putt coming back for your par / bogey. So
at least
there's nothing wrong with laying up.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. This question was emailed to me, which it's okay if you email me, but will let you know that your question will get on the air faster if you send it through the proper channels, which is at discgolfanchorman.com.
Was this,
This is-
sent before
huh?
episode? This was sent to you before episode like 3.
Probably because I get so many emails, they just get bogged down. So anyway, this was from Tony. Any advice on practicing field work for a tournament course with hills when you live on an all flat ground? I've played the course before and took notes of the hole so I can practice the lines and distances, but I can't simulate the running up or downhill throw or off balance putting because everything is flat where I live and the course is 3 hours away. So can't just practice the course every day like I normally would before a tournament. Any help would be greatly appreciated.
Wow, that
How
may
do you
be one of the
practice
first
like that?
times we've got a question like this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I struggle in general if the ground's not flat. We were talking about this today. I very much comfortable with flat ground. If I'm tilted up or tilted down, it really messes me up. But I find it helps a lot to almost do a towel drill just to feel out the footwork before each shot, especially if the ground's like offset or rocky or anything. Just do my footwork as if I were throwing, but obviously don't actually throw. I turn the disc sideways, but just to feel my footwork, feel my stroke. And that helps a lot with at least it being familiar, but not necessarily good.
How would you say, Danny, would you practice if you don't have a hill to go practice on?
I don't know.
I've got an idea. I've never tried this.
Okay.
But I know Zach Melton on the team, if it's an uphill or a downhill, he will start almost 90 degrees parallel to his lie. And rather than running straight up at it, he will run almost sideways and then throw across his body. And so you can practice that in a field because the thought process is that if you're going up or down a hill, left to right, the elevation probably isn't going to change that much, or at least it's going to change a lot less drastically than going straight up or down that hill. So you could try that and just practice running up sideways and throwing across your body just so that you're used to that. And then that will help alleviate some of the elevation change. And he said putting too, you could bring a stool or a box or something and put one foot on that and pretend that you're, put your, or if you have stairs in your house or something, put your basket at the top of the stairs or put it at the bottom or something.
Just do full run-ups on the stairs too.
Yeah,
Naturally,
practice
yeah.
your X step down the stairs. Sure, start at the top so you can get a bunch of X's in.
We are not liable for any injuries sustained.
Please don't do
Well,
this.
I mean, it's a good drill, but whatever.
Also, when you're throwing uphill, try to throw something less overstable.
Yeah.
I mean, when I play, I remember I used to go to the Majestic every year, and we would end the final round would be at Highland Hill, and there's a hole there that's just straight uphill, straight up like a black diamond ski hill is what it is.
Gosh.
And I definitely did what Zach Melton does and throw, from the side basically. And I would always throw my roller disc that I have in my bag on that shot because you get so much flight out of it. Because if you think about it, how far uphill you're throwing, the disc will have time to flex out. So keep in mind, less overstable throwing uphill.
We have a beginner's guide on shot selection that talks all about this.
Perfect.
Excuse me. Excellent. Next question. Let's see. A proposal from a dedicated team deputy member. Hey, Disc Golf fam. The deputy was the first putter that really clicked with me, and I'm a devoted team deputy. Truther. Okay. I begrudgingly bag a more stable putter if it's windy. I already know the answer to my question, but still want to put it on your radar. I love throwing putters, but the deputy is too domey in the fusion plastic. I know many have asked, okay, maybe it doesn't, if it will ever be produced in Lucid or Lucid X. I realize that catching up to demand and simply restocking the usual molds is priority, and adding a Lucid deputy is not a realistic possibility. So how about I put out this proposal? If you make a Lucid X run of the deputy, I will get a dynamic discs tattoo of your choosing, and I will commit to this via signature and have it notarized.
On your forehead.
Yeah.
I was going to say, I want a full, like the owl stamp, just the top half of his face.
Actually, we have had Lucid deputies.
But not
I
Lucid,
remember
not Lucid X is what he was asking for as well.
I think he said Lucid
Yes.
or Lucid X.
He said it produced in Lucid or Lucid X. So I know we've had Lucid because I remember one of the Piney Woods Open, that was part of the players pack. But as far as Lucid X, I don't know that it's even one. I know that isn't Lucid X kind of a finicky thing, plastic?
Probably will not see a Lucid X deputy just because the putters are very tough to mold. in that plastic. Now, that being said, you could possibly do a what do we call it?
The custom run.
Custom run program.
Yeah.
You can order, I think it's 1,000 of them that you have to order, but get 1,000 of your deputy buddies and go in on lucid deputies.
Generally, though, premium plastic putters are dobier. They generally like in
somehow they cool.
plastic. Yeah, they're flatter, and then in the premium plastic, they're so even like we've had moonshine in the past and fusion, all those are just a little bit domier.
Dome.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Well, that's all the time we have for the Disc Golf Answer Man questions. We want to thank you for spinning those questions into the show so we can answer them on the air. Keep them coming. Keep the speak pipe coming too as well. We're whittling down to only a few of them left, so make sure you send in your voicemail so we can answer those questions and keep those questions coming in on the Google form as well. So UDisc had put out a disc golf growth report. Were you guys able to check that out?
I looked at it before, yeah.
Here are some of the stats that I think are amazing. 50 million. Now, of course, if you're not familiar with UDisc, it's an app where you can watch, the UDisc live part. You can watch the Disc Golf Pro Tour and some National Tour events. You can keep up with the scores, but also for your play, you can find courses. You can keep track of your scores. You can put your bag in there to keep kind of a record of your bag. I'm sure there's other things that you can do that I am just not mentioning. Disc golf match play, you keep your scores in there. You can find events in your area. I mean, it's a really cool app that you definitely need to download. You can do a lot of stuff for free, or you can pay for it. As a PDJ member, you actually get a year subscription to it, but you can pay for it. And I think it's $5 a year.
Something like that.
Yeah. So very, very cheap. Anyway, so based on this, the statistically speaking, they kept stats for 2020, and here's some more interesting one. 50 million rounds were played in 2020. 50 million.
That's crazy.
That is insane.
A lot of zeros for sure.
11.7 million rounds scored using the UDisc app. 50% of new disc golfers scored 5 rounds in their first month of UDisc.
People get bit by the book.
60% of all disc golfers play at least once a month. I mean, it's just amazing the growth of every 1.6 seconds a round was started on UDisc in August.
That's
so
crazy.
I know a lot of people have been talking about, it's kind of a topic of how much the pandemic has affected the growth of disc golf. In fact, there's a few memes how they were showing that the coronavirus was actually what grew the sport. And I gotta say, there's some validity to that, as far as people were just basically trying when there was a lockdown, and then people were wanting to look for things to do when they got outside to get outside and be active.
Mm-hmm.
Disc golf was definitely one of the ones, and you could definitely see that impact happening based off these statistics. I'm curious, what are your thoughts though? Do you think, I mean, we're still in the pandemic, right? Things are happening to maybe alleviate some of the effects it has on us, but what do you think is going to happen with now that we're really getting into the whole Disc Golf Pro Tour season? What are your thoughts on whether it's going to continue to grow, level out, or what?
I feel like it was growing at a pretty steady rate, and then it spiked up just because everyone was home and looking for something they can do by themselves. I don't think it'll continue at that rate, but I think we've definitely jumped up a bit. We've skipped like a lot of time in the normal growth, and it'll just continue growing maybe a little bit faster just because it tends to be logarithmic. Like the more people that play, they invite more people out to play, and it grows like that. But yeah, I don't think it'll continue to grow at the rate it's been like at the beginning of when everybody was at home, but I think it'll continue to grow quicker than it was before, for sure.
So one of the stats they said is that 11,566 disc golf courses in the world. Eric, I'm sure that you've probably felt the impact of growth as people reach out to you to get some courses designed.
I think there was a stat, the 3.5 courses a day
built every day in 2020. Yeah.
Wow. And you did all of them. Wow.
I did
That's
it every
crazy.
single one.
You have been busy.
Tell you what, no, that's phenomenal. And I mean, kind of like I spoke on earlier about events, just the more courses that we're able to have for events, the better it'll be for the tournament player. But that being said, in my opinion, we need more 9-hole courses. We need more family friendly 9-hole courses in towns that already have like an established disc golf scene that, for instance, let's say a family picks up disc golf, hears about it, however they hear about it, on social media, and then they go out and they play around at, let's just use Emporia for an example. If they're in Emporia and they come and play around and the only course in town is a course like Jones East, a course like that, they are going to be turned off. I personally believe that they may not even make it through a full round. A lot of just crazy shots through tall grass, across water. They could lose some discs. 18 holes is a long day for, a first round of disc golf. I think courses like Hammond Park, Wilson Park, even the Tech College, those little 9-hole pitch and putts that the family can go out and have an opportunity to just enjoy the day outside is really what will help grow the game, in my opinion, because you're kind of evolving these kids into becoming disc golfers and growing into these bigger, more championship level courses. So that's why when a city approaches me and asks about, hey, honestly, almost every city that approaches me says we want a championship level course. And I get there and they have 12 acres of land and there's a playground on half of it, so a lot of people don't have an idea of what it takes to put in a course. Like, for instance, yesterday I was in McPherson, Kansas, putting in a course, helping out with the city. They had asked me, this had been a 2-year project, and they were asking me about putting in a course, and the funds weren't quite there to hire somebody to come in and do it. So they tried to do it themselves, and they sent me the map, and I said, look, you can't do this. There's holes crossing each other. You've got sidewalks, you've got playgrounds, you've got all kinds of just weird walks in between. It's because somebody who didn't understand the game was designing the course. So, it definitely speaks volumes on hiring somebody to put in a course that knows what they're doing. And I'm not just saying you guys should call me to put in your course. You should, but if you hire anybody that has the knowledge to do it, that's a win in my book. So
if you look, they have a heat map on this page. I dropped the link in the chat for the people who are watching live, but if you zoom in on a specific area, it has like how many rounds were played at each course. And the most in Emporia is Peter Pan, which has 1944. The second most is Hammond. It has 1897. By comparison, Country Club has 389. East has 1332 and West has 1747. Gold only has 291. So, and
100 of those.
Yeah. And that's also rounds that were in UDisc. How often are you out keeping score for tags or whatever at Hammond?
And those families that are out there just playing, they're not keeping score on UDisc whatsoever. They're just
definitely
out there time. So you're absolutely right.
I would bet Hammond is the most played course in Emporia, and it's not even close.
I would agree. And I think Wilson Park will catch up to it at some point. Sure. Being right there on campus where, the dorms are, you could see 7 of the baskets from the dorm rooms. So
yeah. And you can get in and out of that course. Between classes, if you've got 20 minutes, you could play all 9 holes.
Yeah. It's a fun course. It's fun too. So,
So it is exciting to see disc golf grow, but there's also been some chatter on the social media world as far as how this is putting a strain on it, though. Anthony, what are your thoughts on the strain that it does put on the sport as far as, can we keep up with the tournaments? Can we make sure that these courses are maintained? A lot of these courses are on public parks. And so you're going to have people playing while other people out trying to enjoy themselves at a park as well. What do you think that effect will have as far as the growth of the sport?
I think that's kind of like what Eric was talking about with his McPherson thing, where it's like, if you have somebody that doesn't know what they're doing and they just put a course in the ground, then there's going to be issues. But aside from the Country Club, I think every course in Emporia is in, maybe not Wilson Park, but I think every course is in a public park. And I haven't heard of, there's never been any issues with people getting hit, people getting injured, throwing near playgrounds, things like that. So the two can cohabitate there. I think that there will maybe be some growing pains with, like, I think we're kind of seeing an example with the Memorial, right? Where a course that's been in the ground forever, as the game grows, instead of having one person on the front 9, one person on the back 9, maybe now there's going to be 3 or 4 groups out on the entire course there's going to be more people playing. There's going to be less room for people in those areas of the park. Kind of like the Memorial where there's people playing, but it's still a park. There's still people out for their morning walk. And so, yeah, maybe courses like that will have to get redesigned. They'll have to call someone like Eric and say, hey, we've got issues on this hole and this hole. What can we do? I think the word that comes to mind is just growing pains. I'm sure there will be some, but I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing as long as nobody gets seriously injured, hopefully.
Yep.
Now, according to this, there is 50% of disc golf courses are located in public parks. I think that's great, Danny, for people to be introduced to disc golf.
Mhm.
But I've always been a proponent for private courses, just because it can be something that can be maintained. I believe there can be up the level of maybe professionalism when it comes to certain events. What do you think? How many more years until we start seeing more and more private? I mean, I know money is part of the equation, but how many more years do you think until we really see that number get lower as far as disc golf courses on public parks as opposed to on private courses?
I mean, from a logistical standpoint, the reason that cities want to have disc golf courses in the ground is not only because it makes life better living in the city, it improves the quality of life, but also it could be profitable for them if people come to town to play a tournament or something like that. And if they don't upkeep the course, obviously people aren't going to want to come to play that tournament, and then they won't bring their I don't know, gas money and lunch money and stuff like that into the town. So it's easier to justify a pay to play course. And usually, I mean, I've been impressed by just about every pay to play course that I've played. It's a lot nicer course. I don't know necessarily though that we should try to change over to pay to play. I think having the 9-hole courses that are free to play, like Hammond or whatever, and East and Peter Pan, those are all like, I mean, you can play championship level tournaments there, but they're more like your B and C tier level courses. If you're going to play like an A tier, a national tour, then you're going to play country club or a course like Jones Gold. Obviously not Jones Gold because it's on public property, but those courses, I can see those going more towards pay to play, just because also it's more land. You have to mow all that, and it's going to be more upkeep. So I could definitely see more of those championship level, those really difficult courses going more to pay to play. But I don't see us straying that far from the free courses anytime soon.
Gotcha. We got a super chat. Thanks to 888 Huskers 499. He has a question for you, Eric. What do you think of courses near walking trails, roads, or playgrounds, but use mandos to keep people from throwing that way?
Not a fan. Not a fan, to be honest with you, because sure, everybody probably on this call and everybody in the chat will 100% abide by that mando. But when you have a local kid just coming out to play, or a group of teenagers, as I like to call them, or just a group of dudes, whatever, that are just out there playing, having a good time, they don't have a clue what that mando is, and they don't really care what that mando is. So they'll just rip however they want to rip, and that's why you cannot have anywhere shots throwing towards playgrounds, around playgrounds, walking trails. I mean, it depends if it's a trail or a sidewalk or what it looks like, but you can definitely have some holes around sidewalks as long as there's good visuals. If you can see all the way down that sidewalk, and if anybody's coming, that's perfectly fine in my opinion. It's when you have a shot coming over a hill that's blind and there's a sidewalk that creeps in, that's when you have issues.
I've definitely played a course that I played when I first started out playing, and then the second time I played that course after I'd been playing for like a few months, I was like, oh, there's a mando there. That's what that arrow means, and that's what mando means. And like,
Right.
It's definitely a thing. People don't understand.
And still, like, errant shots happen, right?
Mhm.
Even if those group of dudes that are just having fun knows what a mando means. I miss mandos all the time. Like it happens, right?
As an experienced mando misser, let me elaborate on this.
I know I'm supposed to go to the left of this tree, but I always yank it to the right.
But the right is so open.
Yeah, it's way easier.
Why did they make me go this way? It's so much easier going out to this open space. All right, guys. Well, make sure you check that out. Go to udisc.com and look for the disc golf growth report. And a lot of times you guys will send questions. Hey, how do I tell my town? How do I tell my community that disc golf is growing, and justify reaching out to Eric McCabe and get a course design in our area? Boom, right here. this is a report showing the growth of disc golf and how fast it's growing. So this is statistically speaking, good information.
Literally statistics.
Literally statistics full of stats.
So many
Anyway,
stats.
So many stats. So anyway, good stuff. Thanks to Steve Hill and UDisc. Steve Hill reached out to me and told me about the report. Yeah, we shared it on our social media, but make sure you check it out and check out all the information about the growth of disc golf. All right, now we come to the dumb part of the podcast.
Come to a close.
Danny's, what is it? What does the dumb stand for? I forgot. Danny's
underrated, mind-blowing ideas. It's dumb ideas.
Explain to us what it is, Danny.
So it's basically a segment on the show where I pitch ideas to the other people in this call, and they're not good ideas. The purpose is for them not to be. I've have a form on the Facebook page. You might be able to find it where you can submit your ideas. And I've had some actual good submissions there. So I'm kind of disappointed. We are looking for terrible ideas.
Dang, that's a great idea. Well, this one doesn't make the cut.
Yep. Man, come on. Why you should just make this product and you would actually make money instead of my ideas. So yeah, if we're looking to get started, I have an idea here. Okay, it's for a segment on a podcast where one person has these ideas that are like somewhat feasible, but they're not actually going to work, and he pitches them to the other people and see what they think. What do you think?
Is there approximately 3 other people that he's pitched?
It depends. It could be any number of them. We can figure this out. We can kind of work through it. But I think it's a great idea. We should definitely move forward with that one. Huh?
Is one of the hosts a very handsome Spanish man?
Naturally, absolutely.
Okay,
all right.
Well, can I be the one that is the world champion?
Yeah, absolutely. Yes, you got it, dude.
Got it. Sorry, Eric.
This is the first idea we've ever approved of. What a day. This is fantastic.
Well, that's the end of our show today, ladies and gentlemen.
Okay. Next idea. All I have written here is, I don't know, you guys come up with something.
That's
Nope. I'm not on board with this one.
Maybe a little heads up would have been nice.
You don't have any bad ideas you want to pitch? Okay. That was kind of bad too. All right. Yeah. So we saw Latitude just released these Ecoline discs, right? They're biodegradable discs. So, and they're in like a base plastic. If you lose them, they will just disintegrate. They won't be as bad for the environment. Right?
Like a banana peel?
Like a banana peel. Yeah. It's just a couple of weeks. That's all you got out of it. No, they last, they're okay. Here's my idea. Put like grass seeds inside of those discs as well. That way, when you lose them, rather than like normal discs hurt the environment, and this doesn't really help the environment, but it doesn't hurt them. The seeds in the discs actively helps the environment and makes it better.
Idea, Danny. This is your best dumb idea yet.
Are you sure?
You know what I picture? I imagine some cartoon drawing and a person with their disc golf bag looking out into a field, and there's like little poofs of grass and the caption says, Bobby finally sees where he lost his disc. And there's just little tufts of grass sticking out in different places.
I mean, grass or tree seeds, that's a good point. You could make the courses harder. It'd be a good way to like add difficulty, compensate for like the branches or whatever getting knocked off throughout the years, just grow more trees from the lost discs. But usually they're not going to be like in the fairway though. They're going to be off the fairway, just in the rough, because
that's fine.
It's pretty rare that people lose discs in the middle of the fairway. Downside could be if it's like an invasive species accidentally or something like that. We got to really be careful of what seeds we're putting in here. We could also put like, I don't know, flower seeds. We could make them like, that would make the courses so much prettier.
Perennials or annuals or whatever.
Yeah. You can just have like a daffodil, like a bulb just bulging out of the middle of the disc whenever you throw.
Hey, we've been trying to figure out new names for a new line of discs. Maybe we can just start calling them different flowers. The daffodil.
There we go.
Daffodil.
Yeah, we're gonna go from enforcer, defender to daffodil.
Tulips. Yes. This is my Lucidex daisy. Okay, I have a question about this.
Okay.
As someone that
you?
Yes, yeah, just one. Okay. I don't lose discs, right? I always throw them right where I mean to, and it always goes
naturally
right there. Yeah. So am I an actively bad person now if I'm like not losing discs because
Yes.
now I'm taking grass away from the earth. I'm now harming the planet more than
Yes.
I don't know. I figure these discs are going to appeal the most to like the people who lose a lot of discs. So, right, like statistically in the bell curve, you're like an outlier if you don't lose any discs.
for sure.
And then there's also the outliers that lose every disc they have.
every single one.
And so that guy is the guy that we want buying these discs. That's
Sure.
who. That's who
How
we.
much do these cost?
How much are you willing to pay for a clean conscience?
Whoa.
How
Yeah,
much are you willing to pay to save the earth?
save the earth
About
personally.
tree.
Go green.
If you don't buy these and you lose a disc, you are actively harming the earth.
Terrible person. You now
Just-
have to buy 2 and lose them.
All right. All right. What's the next idea?
Okay,
Every-
this one was actually this is a fantastic idea submitted from the forum. Most of the ideas on the forum are actually good ideas, or they're just completely outrageous, and I don't understand what the person's typing at all. But this one was a good one. This
Welcome to
is
my world.
okay. So imagine that. Imagine my brother is like a few inches shorter than me, right? And so imagine that I am my brother, and I have an opportunity to caddy for someone like James Conrad. Now, that's fantastic. James doesn't have to carry his bag. Downside is one of the benefits of caddying is you don't have to bend over to get the discs out of the bag. But if I am shorter and I am caddying for James, he still has to bend over. So this is a height adjustable bag. It has rails on the back, and you can just raise the bag up to the height of whoever you need to. It might add a little bit of like extra bulk on your back or stuff like that, but I think it's a fantastic idea because if you're caddying for James and he grabs the wrong disc, you just drop it down and like, whoop, no, try again. And then you raise it back up. It can kind of be like a pinata situation, just a height adjustable. Maybe it's just a rack for a bag that you put the bag on.
Eventually, it could
know what
evolve
I-
into a motorized one where you just hit a button and just goes.
Mhm. Just put it on like a Roomba and then you don't even need to caddy. You can just
Right.
walk.
Just
And just
program
drive it
the
around in
course,
front of
and it
you.
just goes, yeah.
I'm still stuck on your brother's shorter than you.
Yeah.
It actually kind of reminds me of when Ricky's little brother caddied for him,
Oh no.
like Worlds or I don't think it was Worlds, but it was some big event that his little brother was caddying for him, and he's like came up to his knees. So it was just
Oh my
massive.
gosh.
Or who's that? Who's that? I don't know if he's a kid anymore, but last time I saw a picture of him, he was a kid who caddies for Paul overseas at like the European
Oh,
Open
yeah.
every year.
Oh yeah.
I feel like I should know his name, but
I forget.
Hopefully, he's grown up and not a kid anymore, and he's not just stunted at a kid.
well, I mean, I don't
Well,
know
I
how
think he's
long
like
ago it was.
Oh,
Yeah, I think
okay.
he's like a teenager maybe.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I'm 25.
Like
I can call
young
teenagers
teens.
kids now, right? Get out of my
Right. All right. One more. What do you got?
One more. Okay, here's an idea. We need to grow the sport. That's what we're looking for, right? We all want to grow the sport. We all want more people playing. I think a great way to get the word out about the sport is to have somebody high profile pick up the sport. Here's my idea. You guys have heard of Dude Perfect, right? They do all these like trick shots and stuff like that. They do a lot of content with Frisbees with this guy named Brody Smith. I think if we just pitched disc golf to him as an idea, maybe get him on Jomez, get like a fun casual round out there so he can try the sport. I think if Brody Smith started playing disc golf, that would be fantastic because then so many more people are going to be able to see what disc golf is, and he might even get sponsored. Who knows? He might end up being pretty good at the game. I think getting Brody Smith out there and as a disc golf player, that would seriously grow the sport and open it up to a ton of people, a huge audience.
I'm sorry, what's
Did
a
someone
Dude
just submit this? Yeah.
No,
Perfect?
this is one I have written down. It's a genius idea. Just came up with it.
Hmm.
You're right. If Dude Perfect got into the game and got aggressive, then the sport would
Mhm.
blow up.
Yeah, that would work. That'd be great.
Millions.
Someone else. I don't know who else does like trick shot videos. I see a guy with like throwing cards. He'd be. I
Simon.
don't know. I think Brody's the right one.
Dude Perfect has 55.3 million subscribers.
Wow. I think that's shooting too high. That's someone with too many subscribers. That's
Hey,
why
we-
Brody's just perfect.
That's
We
He's
need a
got
few less.
63,000. So we're almost there.
You know,
Someone in chat says he's
lot of work.
sponsored by Discraft already for disc golf.
Wait, what?
No, that's his brother.
Oh
They're
yeah,
twins, I think.
that's right.
heck.
That's Schrody Myth.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, yeah. His twin brother has a completely different last name.
Yep.
It just sounds really similar.
Step Brothers.
Am
All
I
right,
reading
that's
this
all the
right?
idea.
Dude Perfect has 55.3 million subscribers And they only have
believe it.
256 videos?
I don't know.
Could be.
That's really not a lot of videos. Sheesh. They are huge.
They
Anyway.
are absolutely.
All right.
huge.
Well, thank you so much for the dumb ideas, Danny. I have to admit,
Hey.
a couple of those were
They're not dumb ideas.
more dumb than the others. So
They were kind of dumb, yeah.
yeah. So, all right, guys, thank you so much for tuning in and bearing with us and sticking with us. We appreciate it. Keep sending those questions in, keep subscribing, keep listening. Like I've told you before, we've got some cool series coming up. We got Anthony's a tournament prep series coming up. We've got Road to DDO, get you ready for the Dynamic Discs Open. We've got a lot of content planned for the YouTube channel, so make sure you are tuned in. Hit that notification bell so you know exactly when we upload a video. And we'll see you guys.